Hi, this is Wasabi. Welcome back to the channel. It's a battle on Siegfried line, and we've got HeavyTone in his tier 4 P26 40, which is a Italian tech tree medium tank. Anyway, he's top tier in this game, and he's just deciding whether to go to the field or the city. So he's heading off to what looks like to the 0 line to see whether there's any pickings there. Now this is one of the best tier 4 medium tanks in the game. It's got good HE shells in terms of penetration, so let's have a quick look at that. Average damage 175 and penetration of 70 millimeters, which is going to penetrate a lot of different tanks at this tier. He's also carrying heat, which has got 130 pen, so useful if you get up against tier 5s, and then armor piercing rounds, which do less damage, 110, and have a penetration of 97. So basically he has to choose his rounds carefully. So he hasn't actually hit anything there. It's got a fairly large dispersion. It's typical of large caliber shells that use HE. So anyway, we'll just see how he goes. So it's just on the edge of the map there, towards the 0 line, but he's come back here to this area just to see where things are going. Now, none of the enemy team, apart from that Type 91, have been, or the original Type 28, T28, I should say, were spotted. Now the Type 91 at the back has been spotted, but there's still not much information. It's just starting to come up now on the map. There's a T127, which is a premium tier 3, but it's being run by bots. Now this is ANZ server, so you know bots are on the team when they've got names that are preceded by and by colons. So we'll just see how we go. So that's one of the bots there, the T127. So his first shot hit there, and it did just a small amount of damage, but the second one did the full whack of 177. So that gives you an idea of what the HE rounds can do. Anyway, so he's kicked off there. He's got some assisted damage for tracking, it looks like, and then similar amount for the damage dealt. So not a bad start there. One tank up, got a reasonable amount of equivalent of one tank's worth of hit points in advance, but there's Matilda pushing down towards that 0 line, and Matilda's at tier 4. Again, pretty powerful tanks in terms of the armor that they've got. Hard to penetrate, particularly from the front, and they've got a fairly fast-firing gun, low alpha, but accurate and high rate of fire, so they can do a fair bit of damage in a short amount of time. But the T40 tank destroyer on HeavyTone's team takes out the Matilda, so that was one of the standard players, I would call a human player. And now he's got a UE57, which doesn't seem to have noticed him. That's a real player, by the way. So he's doing some blind shots there, which you'd want to do. But now he's been spotted. Doesn't look like he did any damage there. He's still not hitting his shots there. He's waiting for his shots to aim in, which is good. But he just managed to get one hit there, and using heat rounds. So probably no real reason to use it on a UE57. That's one of the lightly armored tanks, but given the Type 91 there, he probably thought, well, that's probably what I need to load. So it looks like the UE57's down now to pretty low health, and in fact just been destroyed. So now he's trying to get a shot here on the Type 91. And starting to do some damage, but again, he's using heat rounds here. Is that strictly necessary? The frontal armor on that thing is a bit tough, but once he starts showing his sides, which the bots tend to do pretty frequently, they stop and turn around, and here he goes showing the rear. So he shouldn't necessarily be needing to use heat rounds here, could just be using the HE rounds. So it's just blocking some damage from a T127. He's managed to, well, that Type 91's been destroyed by the one of the arty on his team. Now, it's quite possible that the arty on these teams are bots. Keep an eye on them in the game just to see what happens. But yeah, he's continuing here. Going back to the back line, I guess he didn't want to face the B1 there. B1's a bit of a challenge, but they're also tanks starting to cap. So he's pushing back here to the cap area to make sure that that doesn't happen. There's a BT7, it's called an artillery tank. It was originally a howitzer-based tank, but in the game now it is a light tank. So that was coming in and scouting, and the M5 Stuart also a human tank. Again, they were probably trying to cap out before 2 tanks before anyone turned up, but HeavyTone is coming here and he's chasing him off. So we'll see if he can catch up to that M5 at all. So the P26 40, it's not that slow a tank, but it is relatively slow for medium. There he goes and one-shots the M5 Stuart. So that is taken out. Now let's just have a look. I think it's one of the human tanks, and then there's the 2 artillery. So it's got 2 artillery on each side, which with strange names, which possibly indicate they're bots. But that doesn't mean that they are bots, but they could just be sort of multi-boxes, or some other means of trying to produce accounts that might get sold later on, which is an unfortunate thing that's going on at the moment. Wargaming trying to get rid of them. So we'll submit this replay to Wargaming later on to see whether that can be dealt with. Anyway, so HeavyTone's pushing up now on the 0 line. You have to be a little bit careful with tank destroyers on this line, but from the remaining tanks, there are no tank destroyers left. Now, what he's doing here is a bit of a mistake. When you see tanks, a red mark ahead of you, doesn't mean you can see it. Have a look at the mini-map and see where there are obstructions between you and that tank. And don't spend time sitting there sort of waving your reticle around looking for that tank if it's really going to be blocked by either a hill or a building. So this is one word of warning in terms of taking aim and that sort of thing, is just focus on the mini-map as well to give you information before you decide to stop and look around. Anyway, so it looks like they're looking for Artie. He's got HeavyTone himself with a PZ3E. Both sort of hunting around the back of the map here. There's 2 arty left and 3 bots, and it looks like they're not sitting in this part of the map. So now the next choice is to go out to the field and just see what they can find. There's an MX-40 up there, but there are bot players coming in close there, although the BT7 artillery on HeavyTone's team is not a bot player. Or we should call them AI players really, because they're officially sanctioned there. Now it looks like the PZ3 has found the artillery, but the artillery have also found the PZ3E, so you've got to be a bit careful. Wespies can actually do a fair bit of damage. So one thing is to not necessarily come at them head on, which is sort of what HeavyTone's doing. He knows he's been spotted, but he shouldn't just sort of rush in, which is roughly what the PZ3E was doing. So they're alerted to the presence, and you can just, as you peek over, you can get an idea of which way they're pointing, which he's done there. And when you zoom out, you can basically keep an eye on them. One thing to try and do is to get sight onto them so that they have to turn. As they turn, their guns are much less accurate. And HeavyTone's decided for the moment he'll just try and focus on this B1. Now he's firing AP rounds here, so higher penetration than his HE rounds, but again, you've got to penetrate to actually do any damage, whereas the HE you can do damage without penetrating. So he's managed to get rid of one of the Wespies and still using AP rounds. He's firing at the second one. It's just done 108 damage, and just one more shot if he can connect. He's going to do more damage there, and one more shot to kill, and he's managed to get rid of the Wespie there. So he's managed to get both of the artillery that the Panzer 3E couldn't do, and there's 3 tanks left. They're all bots, but where are they is the question. They were last seen in the field, so this is where HeavyTone is, and he's already on, oh look, 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. That's a nice sequence of numbers there. total of 1500 combined, which is a pretty good result for a tier 4, so he's going to get a good result out of this in terms of experience. Now the B1 can be a dangerous tank. It's got a small gun, small caliber gun, 47 millimeters, but it can do consistent damage, and if he lets it get close to him like that, 54 damage at a time, that's 10 shots that he can take basically. So he's just got to be a bit careful there. He's lost his driver, so he's going to move around more slowly. But luckily for HeavyTone, the artillery are taking attacks on that B1 as well. But he's taking in damage, or potential damage, from the AMX-40 and actual damage, so it could be even damage his engine if he's not careful. So he's just trying to get rid of this B1, which he does by shooting in the rear, which is the most vulnerable spot. There's the Type 91. Now one thing about the bot players here, and you can just see it on the list, that they do fire premium rounds. So once they get into a situation and they're not penning you, they're going to switch to premium rounds to try and make the difference there. So HeavyTone's just trying to fire quickly and get rid of these tanks, but he does need to let these things aim in. So he finally does that on the last shot and gets an accurate hit and manages to get rid of that. And then finally there's the AMX-40. They do have a fair bit of armor. Not bad for the tier that they're in, but he's got a side aspect on it now, so no problem penning. One more shot and he's got a kill there. So 2055 damage, excellent result for a tier 4. So here are the results. He got a first class badge for his experience he earned there. He's got the Pascucci's medal for killing the 2 artillery high caliber for the highest damage across the both teams, and Top Gun for getting 6 kills. So good haul of medals there. 594 credits. We'll see how that pans out in terms of the ammunition he used. And a handy amount of experience. So you can see he's finished top in experience, so almost double the next player did. Panzer 3E player. Also put in a good effort there with 1219 damage, which is pretty good for a tier 4 game. So it looks like the artillery on the other side got the top damage there, which is interesting and experience. Now, so you can see there the amount of credits spent left him 3,500 credits behind, but that's a fairly trivial amount, although at low tiers can seem significant. Anyway, good result, HeavyTone, well done, and look to seeing you on the battlefield again.